Looking at the first ICANN for RF1, which is solving a first degree equation. Here, you can probably do this in your head and quite quickly realize that x would be, what number minus 3 gives me 12? That would be 15. But if you can't do that in your head, you do the inverse operation. So instead of minus 3, here what you would do, plus 3, and you got to keep your equation balanced, so you got to add 3 on each side, and that would give you x equals 15. Uh, Here, you could probably do this one in your head as well and quite quickly come to the conclusion that 4 times what number gives me negative 16 would be negative 4. However, if you do not see this, you do the inverse operation. So instead of multiplying by 4, because we have 4x, you would divide by 4 on each side. So let's do that. And that would give me 4x divided by 4 would give me 1x, which is what I'm looking for. And then negative 16 divided by 4 gives me negative 4. Here, this is a two-step equation. So again, you might be able to do this in your head. You might be able to say it in yourself, like what number plus 3 gives me 23? It would be 20, and 4 times what number gives me 20? That would be 5. But if you can't see that in your head, do the inverse operations is what I recommend. So start with negative 3 here, and that would give me 4 times what number gives me 20. It's the same idea that we just did. And here, instead of multiplying by 4, you would divide by 4 on each side, and then that would give you 1x equals 5 for an answer. Here, this is you have to balance because you have variables on each side. So the first step would be basically to eliminate the variables on one side or to balance the equation. So I have 3x here, I have 5x here. You could just simply say, let's just get rid of 3x on each side, and we got to keep it balanced. So then once you do that, you would have here negative 4 equals 2x, that's 5x minus 3x plus 8. And then here, you could say what number plus 8 gives me negative 4 would be negative 12, and 2 times what gives me negative 12, negative 6. But if you can't do that in your head, you could say negative 8 on each side, which would give me negative 4 minus 8 gives me negative 12. And then 2 times what number gives me negative 12? Well, that's x would be negative 6 again. Same idea. So negative 6, 4x. All right, so let's take a look at the next question here. We have negative y plus 8. So a question like this, a lot of students have trouble with that one. We have, so you could do negative 8 to start off. So you get to, on each side, you get to the point that negative y would be negative 4. So basically, from here, some people will say that y has to be 4, or you could just say, well, let's just multiply by negative 1 on each side. That way, you'll end up with a positive y. So same conclusion, y is equal to 4. Moving on to the last two here. Here we have what number divided by 3 gives me 10. You could probably do that in your head quickly enough that x would be 30. But if you can't do that in your head, you can say inverse operation. So instead of dividing by 3, you would multiply by 3 on each side, which would give you 3 times 10. Well, 3x divided by 3 would give me 1x, and 3 times 10, 30. And finally here, 4/5 of what number gives me 7. This one here, you probably won't be able to do that in your head. So you do the inverse operation. So instead of dividing by 5, you would multiply by 5 on each side. And that would give me 20 over 5, or 4. It's the same thing, x equals 35. And then finally you would divide by 5, by 4, because it's 4x, and then x would be equal to 32 divided by 4 is 8. So 8 and 3/4. or 8.75. And there you go. That's how you solve first degree equations.